Hi all, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture, we will see how to work with database in Python. So specifically, we will be discussing how we will go ahead and work with MySQL database. Okay, and we will be using the mysql.connector library to connect the MySQL database with the Python script. Okay. So let us go ahead and let us get started. So for us to go ahead and install the MySQL connector in Python, right? We will have to install it. So we'll go ahead, click on the new terminal, and we will simply say pip install, and then we will type MySQL dash connector, okay, dash Python. Once we go ahead and click on that, since I have already got this installed, so this will say requirement already satisfied. But in case if you are installing it, if you don't have this, then you have to install it. Okay, so what exactly is mysql.connector? So mysql.connector in Python, it is a MySQL driver which is provided by Oracle that allows Python programs to connect to MySQL database, executes the SQL queries, and it retrieves the result. So it is a pure Python implementation, and it does not require any external C-based MySQL libraries. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us start working with this. Okay, so first and foremost, what we will have to do, right? We will have to go ahead and import the MySQL connector, right? So for that, let us go ahead and let us type import, and we will say MySQL dot connector. Okay, then for this particular demo, we will be creating some queries. We will be creating our database, we will be creating our own tables, we will be inserting some rows into that particular table, right? We will be fetching some of the data from a already existing table. So we will be doing all these things. So let us go ahead and let us also import some of the other libraries. So let us say import pandas as pd. Okay, then we will import os. Okay, and we will also go ahead and import from .env import load_.env. So regarding .env and load_.env, and also regarding OS, I have created a separate video on that. You can go ahead and you can watch that. So whatever configuration, right, whatever parameters that we want, right, for example, we want the host name, we want the root name, right, we want the user ID, we also want the password. So all these credentials we want to go ahead and we want to store it in some kind of an environmental variable file, right? So that is the .env file, right? So in order for us to go ahead and fetch those credentials from this particular env file that I've already created here, pass.env, okay, we have to go ahead and import this particular library, that is the load_.env. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us say load_.env, and within this I will be passing in this particular file path. Okay, I will be saying copy path, and here I will be passing this path. Okay, and I need to place / here, because in Python it will not take this as a slash. Okay, so I need to pass / over here. Yeah, now this has worked, and now what I will do, I will simply go ahead and I will get the password, the host ID, and the username from here. So I will simply say password, let us say pass wd is equals to os.environ, and from here I will be going ahead and I will be getting this ID. Okay, so let me copy this and I will pass it here. In the same way, I will be also copying the host is equals to os.environ, and I will be giving here typing here is host, and this one will be user is equals to os.environ. Okay, and this will be user. Okay, and this is os.user. Okay, now if I want to go ahead and if I want to print host comma user, let us run this. you see we get this local host and root, right? Now after this, now that we have the host name, we have the username, and we have the password, right, which is present in the environmental file, I want to go ahead and now connect to my MySQL database. Okay, and the way how we can go ahead and do it is to create an object. So db equals to, okay, I will say mysql dot connector, okay, dot connect, and within this we need to go ahead and connect to our database. So for that we need the host name. So host is equals to host, the host name that we will get from this file, right? Then we also need the user, so user will be equals to user, okay. Then we also need the password, so password is equals to password, and we also need to pass a database. Now for the database, right, in case if we don't have a database, right, database is an optional argument in this case. In case if we don't have a database, so we need not pass it, but we have to create it, right? So let us, for the time being, let us assume that a database is already created, right? So let us go to our MySQL workbench, okay, and this is the Walmart sales data. If I go ahead and if I say select everything, or rather first I have to go ahead and convert like connect to this database. So I will say Walmart sales, okay, and then I will have to go ahead and use this. Okay, now it has pointed. Now I will say select everything from, now within the table section we have this particular table, Walmart table, so from Walmart, okay, and if I go ahead and if I execute this, you will see we have this particular data, okay. So I want to get this data, right, but I want to do it through Python script. So what I will say, database, okay, and within the database it will be the name of the database. So what is the name of the database? It's Walmart sales, okay. So I will say Walmart sales, okay. So now what it has done, it has created this object db, and within this object, sorry, I have not placed comma here, syntax issue, yeah. So now I have created this particular db, okay, that is an object in which it has connected to this particular database, right? Now what I will do, I will go ahead and db dot, I will be using the cursor function, the cursor method, okay, and using this I will just say my cursor, let's say my cursor equals to db dot cursor, okay. So now it has, using the cursor method, right, now it has gained access to whatever is present within this particular database, right? So now what I will do, I will go ahead and I want to execute some of the statement. Like for example, right now I have written this select statement, right? So I want to go ahead and I want to write some of these statements. So what I can do, I will just say my cursor dot, I will use the execute method, and within this under quotes you will have to write your operation, which is going to be in a string format. So I will say select everything from, okay, and I will say Walmart, correct? Walmart is the name of this particular table, and after this what I will do, I will go ahead and I will store this in a data set, rather let me not go ahead and store it here. I will say my cursor dot execute, and after that I will say my cursor dot fetch all, okay. So it will, what it will do, it will go ahead and it will fetch everything and it will store it in list format, right? Whenever it fetches, so every single your entry that we have will be in tuple, it will be in tuple format, right? So whenever we do my cursor dot fetch all, it will be in list of tuples, okay. So what I am going to do, I will store this in a data set, okay, and I will simply say print the data set, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit on run, okay. See, once I hit on run, right? It has given me a list of tuples. And if I do, instead of fetch all, if I do fetch one, right, and let me go ahead and let me delete this one. Let me go ahead and now let me run this. See, it is going to give me, go ahead and give me the first entry. Okay, only the first entry. That's why I've done fetch all. So if I go to MySQL, right, it is giving me this entry only, as you can see, right? Now using the dot execute, right, we can go ahead and we can write several queries within this particular function, correct? So for instance, I can also write where clause, where let's say let us say that the weekly sales, right, or rather let us say that the store ID, okay, where store gets capital, so where store is equals to, let's say, 5. Okay, now if I go ahead and if I execute this, you will see only the data for store ID 5 will be there. Instead of fetch one, let me do fetch all. And now you can see that this is now present, given to us only for store ID 5, it is present over here. So within this particular codes, right, you can go ahead and you can write your SQL query. Okay, now whatever data has come over here, right, I want to go ahead and I want to store it in some kind of a data frame, right? For that only I have used this pandas, right? I imported the pandas library. So what I will go ahead and do, I will simply say data is equals to pd dot data frame, and within this I will pass the data set, right? Now what I actually want, if I go ahead and if I pass the data set, right, and after this I will go ahead and I will say data dot head. Okay, so once I do go ahead and do data dot head, what will happen? It is going to go ahead and it's going to give me this particular value, right? It is converted into data frame, right? But if you can just see the columns, right, column is in 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It's not coming in proper column headers, which is as it is present over here in the actual database, right? That column header is not available over here. It's not showing properly, right? So in that particular case, we want to first go ahead and we want to get the column header values, right? So in order for us to go ahead and get the column header values, what I will do, I will first go ahead and say my cursor dot execute, and I will run this particular SQL query, that is show columns from this particular table, that is Walmart. Okay, and then I will say call val is equals to, and over here I'm going to go ahead and let us go ahead and let us first say call val is equals to my cursor dot fetch all. Okay, and let us print the call underscore val. Okay, so if I go ahead and if I do this, right, if I go ahead and if I run this, see, this has given me the details of each and every column. So so if you look at the first column, right, it is the name is store, the data type is int. Okay, now it has given us a bunch of information over here as well, right? So for example, this is the name is dates, and this is actually of type varchar, that is of maximum 15 characters, right? So what I want is I want to go ahead and I want to pass this in a list format, a list of the columns, right, the list of the column names, right? But right now it is in a list of tuples, right? So for that, what I will do, I will go ahead and I will use the map function, and over here it will go ahead and it will accept a function. I will say lambda and I will say x, and over here what I will do, I will go ahead and say I need the first value. Okay, because map will go ahead and pick up each and every value from here, so that becomes my x, and within this x I need only the first value from here, that is the store value. Okay, and here this is going to be an iterable, so iterable is going to be call underscore val. Okay, and this is going to be a list. right? Now if I go ahead and if I print this, this is going to give me the list of all the column names in proper order. See, this has given me the list of column names in proper order. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to say this is nothing but my column names, which is coming from my data name, my database. And here in the inside the data set, right, pd.data frame, here I will say columns is equals to columns underscore names, correct? Now what I will do, I will go ahead and execute this. Now you will see that this particular data frame has proper headers, as you can just see, correct? And now within this you can perform, you know, whatever operations you perform in pandas, right? You can go ahead and you can easily perform, you can do all kind of data analysis and everything, right? For example, if I want to go ahead and I want to only get the, you know, year, I don't want the dates, I want the years only, right? So in that particular case, what you can go ahead and do, you will just say you know, data, and within this I will just pass in dates, correct? And here I will say you know, data of dates, or rather I will say data dot apply, okay? And within the apply function I can go ahead and I can say, you know, lambda x and x dot split. I can use the split function, okay? And here I will be passing in the second, okay? And now if I go ahead and if I run this, it is going to give me 2010 only, right? So this is something that is regarding pandas, in which you have this apply function where it will take up each and every entry, and it is going to go ahead and split this in the basis of this delimiter, and it is going to go ahead and pick up the second index. So once it splits, so this 2010 becomes the third, becomes this second element, the third element, which is of second index. So it has gone ahead and it has populated this, okay? So you can go ahead and you can perform these kind of operations, okay? I will not dive deep much into this particular pandas, okay? I will be creating a separate video on that one, then we will discuss about this, okay? But it is just to get an idea that how you can connect it with the database. If you have already got a table within your database, you can go ahead and you can fetch it like this, and you can convert it easily into a data frame, through which you can go ahead and you can easily you know, do a lot, like you know, you can do analysis on this one, correct? So this is how you can go ahead and you can function, you know, this is the way how you can go ahead and you can execute the MySQL query within your Python script, okay? Now let us go ahead and let us create you know, let us write code for creating the database for tables, okay? And how we can go ahead and insert values. Let us go ahead and let us do like that, okay? But we will not be, obviously this is not the way how we will be writing the code, okay? This is just for the, you know, for initial standpoint, we have gone ahead and we have written this code for learning purpose, right? But we'll be creating a class here, okay? And let us go ahead and let us create this class, and let us write it in proper format. So I will say, I will create a class known as mysql database, okay? And here I will be saying init, right? Here I will be passing self, and within this, so whenever I want to call this particular you know, class, right, this particular MySQL database class, whenever I want to create an object, I want to go ahead and I want to pass these values, the host name, user, and password, because this is going to be common for all, right? So I will say host, comma, user, comma, password, okay, comma, and then database, right? Now for us to go ahead and create a database, right, if we don't have a database, then we cannot pass anything over here, right? So I want to make this database an optional field, so I will pass none, okay? And here what I will do, I will say self dot host is equals to host, self dot user is equals to user, self dot password is equals to password, and self dot database is equals to database. Okay, now that we have all these values right with us, now we can go ahead and we can create our object to connect to. So db is equals to mysql.connector.connect, and within this we will go ahead and we will say host is equals to self dot host, right? User is equals to self dot user, correct? And every time, just like previously, I forgot to put comma, so I won't make that mistake again. So password is equals to self dot password, okay? And this one will be database is equals to self dot database, right? And but because I want to use this connection everywhere whenever I create any kind of function, so this must be of instance type, so I will be going ahead and will say self.db. Okay, and after this what I will do, I will just simply say self.myCursor is equals to self.db.cursor, right? Self.myCursor, because I also want to go ahead and use it in my other functions as well, which I will be creating, okay, for creating database, for creating tables, for inserting rows into the database, into the table, right? So I have created this particular myCursor. Now what I will do, now I want to go ahead and I want to make sure that if my database, right, is not null, that means if somebody has not passed, if somebody has passed a database, right, like right now, just I have shown, just previously just I have shown, right, like I passed the Walmart sales database, right? In that particular case, I want to go ahead and ensure that whatever tables that I will be creating, or I will be fetching data from that table, it is a part of that database. So I need to go ahead and I need to use that SQL command use database, right? So I will go ahead and I will say self dot myCursor dot execute, and within this execute I will be using this f function, right, use, and I will be passing in the database name over here, that is self dot database, right? So if my data is not null, right, that means if somebody has passed a database. If not, then we will not be executing this, right? Now after this, what I will do, now the init part is done. What I will do, I will go ahead and I will create a function known as create underscore database, okay? And within this I will go ahead and I will pass self comma, and I will say database underscore name, right? Now within this what I will do, I will say self dot myCursor, okay, dot execute. And in order for us to go ahead and create a database, we need to write this command, create database, right? Create database, and here which database we need to create, right? So we will just pass in the name of the database, that is database underscore name, right? Now after the database is created, I will just use a print statement just to make sure that and over here also I need to pass an f string. Here I will go ahead and I will say database, okay, this database underscore name has been created, correct? Now after this, what I will do, I will go ahead and I will again pass this self dot myCursor dot execute, and here I will say use this particular this particular database, okay, right? So whenever I create a database, I want to go ahead and I want to pass this use database, so that now it will point to that particular database. Whatever tables I will be creating, it should be a part of that database. Okay. Now after this, now obviously this can also go ahead and raise an error, because if suppose let's say that the database is already present, right? In that particular case, we want to make sure that that information is passed, that the database already exists, right? So I will use a try block and I will pass it here. So it will try to execute this, and if any exception happens, so I will pass except exception. Okay. And within this, I will just simply go ahead and I will again go ahead and write this, because if the database already exists, I want to make sure that I run this command again, use database, so that it points to that particular database. And after that, I will print that database, right? And that to database name already exists. Correct. Now after we create the database, now what we need to do, we need to go ahead and we need to create table. So I will say create table, and over here I will say self comma, right? Here I will pass the table name, right? And here for creating the table, right? Now the comma now for creating the table, the syntax is it is simply create table, right? Then we provide the table name, right? And within brackets we provide the column name, there's column 1 and data type 1, and this is the format, right? Then again we pass the column 2 space data type 2, just like this, right? So it has to be in this particular order, right? And we need to make sure that this is in like we need to pass the column and the data type as dictionary, and we want to make sure that this is joined using this particular comma, right? And this is present as a single string which is passed within this particular tuple, right? So basically we want to create this string format only, then only it will work. So for that, what we will do, we will go ahead and we will say that the columns, right, columns, it will be of type dictionary, right? And over here what I will do, I will say column underscore defs is equals to, now I will be using the join, I will be joining the entire the entire string present within the tuple using this comma, right? And within this, inside the join, I will be going ahead and I will be creating a list over here, because it will join a list only. And within the f string, right, it has to be in this particular order, that is column and the data type, the detail, right? For the column comma the data type in columns dot item, right? So columns is going to be with this line of code. Now you have understood that columns is going to be a dictionary, right, in which the that is the column name is going to be the key and the data type is going to be the value. So it is simple, which column belongs to which data type, right? So what I'm doing, I'm taking the column, taking the data type, passing in this particular order, right, space this data type, and then once it is present in list format, I'm going ahead and I'm joining it using this comma, right? So this is call underscore defs, right? And what I'm going to do, self dot my cursor, right, dot execute, and within this I will be saying create table, and here I will be passing this and I will be saying table name, and here I will be saying within this particular bracket, this will be call defs, correct? So with this, what happens, that my database is now present, right? My database is now created, and I will say now I will be printing this statement that database, sorry, not database, my bad, table name generated successfully. Correct. After this, once our table is also created, right, we want to go ahead and we want to insert rows into the table. So we will say insert table, and within this I will be passing self the table name, right? And now think about it, we want to pass values, right? We want to pass values. So what is the syntax of inserting something? I will say insert into the table name, right? And then I will say values. Within this I need to make sure that the value is in the perfect order, right? The values are passed, right? And the values must be in accordance with the data type of the columns that you have passed, right? So let us go ahead and let us code this. So what we will do, table name, right, and the values, it is going to be of type list of list, right? So you need to pass a list of lists, okay, and within each list obviously there is going to be this particular row. So it's going to be 5 2010 this entire this entire list of values will be there, and then again these all will be stored in separate lists. So it will be a list of list, right? And after this what we will do, we will say self dot my cursor, right, dot execute, and here inside this I will simply say show columns, right, from, and within this I will just say table name, right? And the reason why we are doing this, because we want to get the column names, right? So I will say call is equals to self dot, my bad, call equals to self dot my cursor, correct, dot fetch all, right? And now what I'm going to do, we need to make sure that the values that you are passing, it should not be lesser or greater than whatever is the number of columns, right? So I will say if, right, if my length of the column, right, is not equals to the length of the values, correct? So I will simply go ahead and I will print this particular statement, f string, that column length and value length doesn't match, right? Also need to specify that length of column names is length of call, while values is length of values, correct? Now with this, it has this particular error has been taken care of, right? It will inform us. And now after this what we will do, we will go ahead and for every value, now this particular values is list of lists, so I want to go ahead and iterate on this particular list of list, right? So every value, so I will say for I in values, where every I is my list, that means every I is my this particular value, right, which is another list which contains all these values, right? And I will simply say value equals to, now I want to make sure that this value, right, because it, now you see 5 is an integer, to 2010 is also an integer, right? This is also a floating value, right? So this is belonging to a different data types, right? Some can be string, some can be float, some can be any other data type. So we need to make sure that the values which are string and the values which are not string, right, we need to go ahead and we need to combine, because at the end of the day, right, if we want to join these strings, correct, if the data type is not same, right, two list like two integer values, they cannot be joined together, right? Rather one integer value with one string value, they cannot be joined together, right? So all of these values have to be converted into string, and then only the join function will work, correct? So for us to go ahead and do that, we will simply go ahead and we will, within this, we will say x. Okay, so within quotes we are passing this particular x, first double quotes for this f string, and within the double quotes we are passing the single string, because obviously whatever values we will be passing in this x, right, this will become within the single quotes, this will become a string, and this is only going to work for those where the data type is not string. Okay, so what we will do, we will say if is instance, okay, x comma str, so this will check if it is string or not. Okay, else str of x, right, for x in I, correct? So I is this particular entire list of this particular value, and x is this individual's value. So it is checking, is 5 a string? No, it is not a string, so convert it into a string. If it is already a string, then go ahead and pass it like this. Okay, so everything gets converted in string format, and after this what will happen, we can simply go ahead and say we will be using this values only. Value is equals to comma dot join, okay, and we will be passing this value. Okay, so we are reusing this value over here. Okay, and we will say self dot my cursor, okay, dot execute, and within this we will say insert into. Now within this we need to pass the table name, right, and here it will be values, and within the values, right, it will be this particular value, correct? And after this is done, outside this particular loop, I will simply go ahead and say all values are now in table, correct? Now after we have inserted, right, so we have created the table, we have created the database, okay, and we have created the table, created the database, and inserted the inserted rows inside the table, right? Now we want to go ahead and we want to fetch those data, right? So we will simply say select, okay, and within this I will say self comma table name comma calls, and within this I will say list is equals to none, right? And I also want to go ahead and convert this into a data frame. So for that I need to go ahead and pass n equals to 5, just to make sure that n is a parameter. So in case if we want to fetch the top 100 rows or 5,000 rows or all the rows, right? So by default I went ahead and I passed this n equals to 5 here. All right, so here what I'm going to do, I'm just simply going to say call underscore names, right? So I will just simply put comma dot join of calls, right? If my calls is not none, else I'll place the star over here. Right now obviously why did I do this? I did this because select star from table, right? So select star means if I want to fetch all, and by default I have passed this as none. So if you pass nothing in calls, so it will by default take that you want every column, and if you want some of the columns, then you specify it within this column in list format. So that's what it is saying. If you are passing it in list format, and if it is not none, then it will go ahead and it will concatenate that string, join that string using this comma separator, and then it will pass it. Okay, where will it pass it? That code will be self dot my cursor dot execute, and within this I am going to go ahead and say select, right, and here it will be call names, call names from this will be table name, right, and after this what we will do, we will go ahead and we will simply say self dot, rather we will store it self dot my cursor dot fetch all, right. So it will go ahead and it will get all the data inside all the data from my cursor inside this particular data variable, right. And now what I will do self dot my cursor dot execute, and from here I will simply go ahead and I want to get all the column values, right, just like I did earlier. So show columns from this particular table name, right, and I will say call is equals to self dot my cursor, right, dot fetch all, and here I will do column names, and I will say this as list of map of lambda x of 0, correct, comma call, right. So I get all the column names in this particular in the list of variables, list in the list format, and then I will say dataset is equals to pd dot data frame, and within this I will go ahead and I will pass data, that is my data over here, comma columns is equals to column names, right, and then I will be returning the data set dot head, where n is going to be this default value, right. So now my entire code is created, right. For the time being I have done initialization, created my database, created my table, inserted it, right, selected like I want to fetch the data, right. Now you can obviously go ahead and you can create code by yourself for updating it, right, for altering the table, correct, or for deleting the table basically, right. You can go ahead and do that, but for the time being, okay, I think this much is enough, right, for the demo purpose. So let me go ahead and let me create the object and let us see this in action. So I will say MySQL database, and here I need to pass the host. So host will be equals to host, and this host is going to come from here. So let me cut this, right, and let me paste it here, correct. So host, and now it is expecting us to go ahead and pass a user password, okay. And now let us check whether whether it is really working for that particular condition where database already exists, right, just like our previous case. So I will just pass in the database is equals to Walmart sales, let's say, right, and I will simply say obj dot select, and it accepts the table name. So I will say table name is equals to Walmart, right, and column I'm not going to pass any column because I want all the columns, okay, and n by default is 5, so that is also fine, okay. Now I want to go ahead and I want to pass this in dataset equals to this. Let us print the dataset, okay, and let us see. They should give us this particular value, top 5 values, and which it is giving, right. So it is working for that particular case. Now in case if I specifically I want the dates and the store only, let us say store and the dates, okay. Okay, sorry. So I need to go ahead and I can need to specify calls is this, right? And if I go ahead and now if I run this, it is saying 8 columns passed, passed data had 2 columns. Okay, so instead of columns is equals to this, right, I will simply say calls. Okay, and with this, because this, if this is none, right, so I need to go ahead and I need to make sure that columns is equals to calls if my calls is not none, else here it will be column names, right? Now if I go ahead and if I run this, yes, now it is working, right? So if calls is so it will be calls if calls is not none, else it will be column name, right? I hope you understood this one, right? So after this you can go ahead and you can pass as many columns as you want, it will work, right? Now what I want to do, I want to go ahead and create a database, right? So for us to do that, let us go ahead and pass edit, let us remove this particular database from here because we need to create, and I will say obj dot create database, and within this we will be passing in the database name, which will be equals to, let us say ton618 is going to be the name of the database. After this I will say obj dot create table, and here my table name will be let us say stars, and columns has to be in a dictionary form, so I will say id, correct? And this is going to be of type int, then this is going to be, let us say weight, right? This is going to be of type float, right? And I will just pass description, right? And this is going to be of type varchar, 100 characters, correct? So after our table is also created, right, we want to go ahead and insert some value, so I will say insert table. Within this, the table name will be equals to stars, and here within my values, right, it is going to be a list of list, so here I am going to pass 1 comma, let us say 558.67 comma, right? Here let us say in description I am pasting highest, heaviest star in cosmos, correct? Comma, within this particular I will be copying this, pasting it over here. I will be making this as id2, and let us change this value to, let us say 158, and I will be saying this as lightest star, right? Heaviest star, okay? And here I will be going ahead, and this should be list of lists, yes, right? So this is done, and after this what I want is, I want to go ahead and I want to select, and within this I want to pass this table name as stars, okay? And this one will be data set is equals to this, so print data set, okay? So let us go ahead and let us now run this. Okay, now it has run, it has successfully created, okay? Now if I go ahead and if I refresh this, you will see that this database ton618 is now created, and within this database Within this tables, within the stars, within the columns, we have all these columns present, right? So let us go ahead and let us see whether data has really come or not. So I will use this. It has navigated. Now I will say select star from this particular stars table. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and run this. Okay, so now as you can see that the columns are present but the rows are not there, right? Whatever we wanted to insert, that has not been inserted. And the reason why it has not done so, because everything is correct. Okay, every single thing that we have done is correct. We have inserted, we have done everything, but the only one thing that we have missed over here is to commit it. Committing means that it will go ahead and save whatever we have inserted into the database. So for us to go ahead and commit, we must make sure that it is committed. So we will say db.commit. Okay, and after we go ahead and commit this, right, now the table is already created. So let us go ahead and let's again run this, but before that let us drop this particular table. This table is ton618. Let us go ahead and drop it. Now it is dropped. Now let us go ahead and run this again. Now that again we have run this, right, let us now go ahead and let us see. This table has come. Let us use this and let us now run this select star. Now as you can see that the data has now come, right? So always remember to go ahead and commit it. Okay, like whenever we want to go ahead and insert some rows, or if we want to go ahead and update or alter the tables, right, so we should go ahead and make sure that it is committed, so that whatever alterations that we have done, right, it gets saved in the database, right? Yeah. So I know this video has been pretty lengthy, okay, but if you have watched it in and out, right from the start, then I hope that you have learned a lot of things from this particular video. If you really like this video session, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and please don't forget to press the bell icon for notification. Thank you.